Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Pod Fruit One Piece Through New Eyes. Today, we embark on our introductory episode before we begin our voyage through the story of One Piece. I am the host, Michael, and with me, we have our One Piece rookies, supernovas, if you will, V
Hi.
and Dylan.
Hello.
V and Dylan have almost no prior experience with One Piece, and they will be sharing their thoughts and reactions as we progress through the story. Our goal here today is just to get to know our cast here. So, why don't we go on and get started with some introductions? I'm going to go ahead and begin with how I came to, be in a position to host a podcast such as this. I got into One Piece just a couple years ago, about 2 years ago, at the request of a friend who was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to get me to read, watch, do anything with One Piece. He's obsessed. Um, but once I started it, I started with the manga, picked it up, flew through it. Took me maybe, gosh, a season. I think I picked it up in September, finished it in December to read all 1,000 chapters. That being said, similar to my guests here, my rookies, I am relatively speaking new to the world of One Piece compared to a lot of people out there. There's a lot that I still have to discover. So as we go through and as we read and for me reread this story, there's a lot of new things that I'm going to pick up that I anticipate really just kind of opening my eyes. It's I am here in an expert capacity, but I am far from the expert on One Piece. So um, that is where I come into this from. I really look forward to finding new things and sharing that with our friends here. So why don't we kind of get into to them? Why don't you, Dylan, start us off with an introduction? Tell us, why you're here, what you hope to get out of it, what you know about what came before, or like how much you knew about One Piece before. Um, and yeah, go for it.
I mean, kind of like similar, like what you were saying. Got put like pushed, and you being the pusher in this scenario. Because you're like, oh no, get into it, and then like eventually the idea of like, oh, it's get into it. We'll do a podcast about it, and we'll bounce off the ideas of what you're seeing. And I was like, all
We
right,
just we just
I'll
succumbed to
try it.
peer pressure, really, is what happened,
I mean, what can we
listeners.
say? But after reading the first volume, realizing that no, I have read a volume ahead of this because my first introduction to manga was a Shonen Jump thing I got from a truck stop because I was just on a road trip and parents just bought me something to shut up as a kid. And as reading it, I'm like, oh, I recognize this. And also, One Piece is just so massive. It's like, yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I know about it. There's things I know about. I want to see things future on. Like, oh, I'm aware of what that is. I've heard about it because everyone talks about it. Besides that, like background for like manga and stuff like that is like I said, I had that Shonen Jump as a kid. Dragon Ball Z was definitely something that was like Toonami. It was a lot of anime for me. Like
Yeah,
early
Toonami
early
was big
Gundam.
for me. Toonami was huge.
Yeah, but that's kind of style. And then eventually like got into Attack on Titan was the really first big one I really cut my teeth on. I actually read most of it. I'd stopped because I was way ahead of the TV show and he wasn't like he was still writing it. So, but I mean, that's me. That's the background I got.
You did mention once that your brother's super big into One Piece. Did you ever, like, with him in any way,
Not
have any?
not really. It's kind of like when I was still living at the house with him. It was just like I'd walk out and he'd be watching it, and I'd ask stuff, and that's why I dog shit on that dumbass reindeer because every time I come out and he's on there, the reindeer's like, I'm so sad. It's like, is that just what this character does? That's so stupid. But you know,
Right,
but I'm looking
right.
forward to it. It's like it's gonna be a fun experience. Whether I like One Piece or not, it's gonna be a good time.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see what you have to say as we progress through. Anything else you want to add here?
That's all I can really think of for now.
Okay. V, same general prompt. How'd you get here? Why are you here?
Oh,
And
the story of how I got here is a long one. I don't know that we necessarily want to get into that tonight.
how'd your parents meet? I'm just kidding. Please don't.
Oh my goodness. I guess I don't know exactly where to start. Let's start with the journey of little V that is getting into anime for the very first time. I started my journey into Japanese animation with Sailor Moon. That was my introduction. I remember it would play on TV early on
Classic.
like weekday mornings. Like 7:30 weekday mornings, right before going to kindergarten or going to school, and I would just stare at the TV and be in complete awe of how pretty and shiny everything was, and the art style and the transformation scenes in Sailor Moon were always something that really appealed to me, just because it was so pretty. And
The silhouettes made me horny.
Oh God,
I
I
mean-
was like 5 years old, Michael.
I was like 5 years old. It was my first sexual awakening, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that's for another episode. The sexual awakening
We'll get
stuff
there.
is, yeah, we'll get there. And then as I got a little bit older, from about like 7 years old to when I would say 13 is when I entered my like anime phase. That's when I got into stuff like Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z. Like, I remember asking my mother to record an episode of Pokemon on a VHS tape because I didn't want to miss it. Like, we're talking VHS, guys. I'm aging myself very much. But yes, I remember doing that. And that is also when I discovered Studio Ghibli, starting with Princess Mononoke, which has heavily, heavily inspired me in my tastes even to this day. In terms of storytelling and animation, I think Studio Ghibli is just a wonderful machine of, it creates dreams and fantasy, and it's just everything that one can aspire to when talking about Japanese style animation. That's also when I started actually reading manga and not just watching anime. So the manga I read were unsurprisingly Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura. There was also Goddess, Shaman King was also a big one for me.
Shaman King was dope.
I really, really enjoyed Shaman King, and Bleach is also when I got into Bleach. I would say the earlier part of Bleach
There's a lot of Bleach.
after there were vampires, I started kind of losing interest, I'll be honest.
Oh God, the Bounce series.
Right?
So bad.
Not great. And then in my late teenage years and adulthood, I kind of lost track of it. And it's only in my mid-20s that I really started getting back to it, and that's when I discovered classics. That's when I watched Cowboy Bebop for the first time, and that's when I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion the first time as well. So later on in life, I discovered these 90s classics, and I absolutely fell in love. They became favorites of mine really, really quick. And so the story of how I came to be here is I've recently kind of renewed my interest in anime and manga and stuff like that. And Michael came to me with this project. I don't know that we want to get into the story of how we became friends, because that's another long story. But all that's to say, he came to me with this project, and I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. What do I have to lose in joining this project? I had heard of One Piece. Not a whole lot. My experience was pretty... I wouldn't say that it was tainted, but the person that I knew One Piece from was an ex that was a piece of shit, if we're being completely honest. So part of... So part of me just kind of erased One Piece from my memory as I moved on from my relationship with this person. I moved on from whatever knowledge I had from that. And the remnants of information I have left are, there's a guy that wears a straw hat, there's a girl with big old titties, and there's a ship.
Couple girls.
Sign
with
me up.
big
And
titties.
that's it.
Hell yeah.
That's all I know. So I'm coming into this with fresh eyes. Like I said, my knowledge of it is very, very limited, but I know enough about it that I'm curious. And so that's why I'm here.
Right. There's a reason that it's the best-selling manga. Year after year. Well, technically year to year, it's kind of been surpassed, at least as far as some others that have come up. Demon Slayer. I was looking at some of the charts. Demon Slayer has dethroned One Piece. I don't know the whole history of the sales and everything, but I know that more often than not, One Piece is near the top, at least if we're talking over the past 10 or so years.
Yeah. Demon.
And I
Go ahead, Dylan.
kind of wanted to chime in on the point when you made Sailor Moon. It just brought back another memory to surface. As a kid, I fucking loved Speed Racer. And Speed Racer is like,
or is that an anime?
That's like old school Japanese anime, like where it's like freeze frames, and then action scene. And like, cause I remember as a kid, I had like a sleepover birthday party, and to age myself, I went to Blockbuster and rented like 6 Speed Racer fucking videotapes, and just like put them on. I was watching. I was like, yeah. Everyone else was like, this sucks. I was like, it's cool.
We should watch Speed Racer at some point.
We should.
It probably isn't gonna age well because it was early animation.
We're talking the 60s.
Very
We're talking
early
60s,
animation.
Yeah. It's very
was
old.
it 60s?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's old. It's old.
I just took a look at the wiki page, and 1966. So that's
it's a lot of freeze frame is that
anime.
show.
Oh gosh, wow.
But sorry, I just brought that back to mind. I wanted
yeah.
to bring that up.
Anything else you got to add to that, V?
Not really. I'm very eager. I'm very eager to embark on this project with people I like, and I'm eager to find out more about this, like,
Historical phenomena.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. It has had an impact now on culture. Not only
Most popular show on Netflix right now.
right. So there's something there, right? There's something there, and there's something I have yet to experience, and I'm very eager to do that. So that's where I'm at.
Right. Some things I want to touch up on my side here is that as far as mangas go, I haven't read many. I've read all of One Piece. I've read some chapters multiple times. I like Dylan. I picked up a single Shonen Jump issue, I got it for Christmas. I have no idea where my parents got it for me.
So cool.
It was life-changing in many ways, but probably not as much as Toonami and the anime side of things. As far as my biggest influences, Yu Yu Hakusho was big, at least the first, 2 seasons, up to the end of the Dark Tournament was really big. I don't know much about Gundam, but I remember thinking they were super cool when I saw them on anime.
I do remember
Dragon
that.
Ball
So
Z.
badass.
Yeah,
Gundam Wing. I remember just being fascinated by the mech of it all.
Yeah, it was such beautiful artwork for these giant robots. But Pokemon, of course, Dragon Ball Z, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh, 100%. In fact, one memory I have is reading the manga Yu-Gi-Oh in Shonen Jump.
Oh, and being like,
that's
oh,
dark.
shit.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you just killed a guy with a taser. What the fuck?
But a blemish or two on my record. I have not seen all of Cowboy Bebop all the way through, and I have not seen Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I have not watched that either.
Oh, guys.
Cowboy Bebop, come on.
Guys.
Yeah, those are the big ones that I feel like people would hold against me. I'm really slow to watch stuff. I'm faster with reading, but it has to really get me. As of late, I've been reading some Jujutsu Kaisen, which to the others here, V, Dylan, definitely recommend checking that out.
I've been reading Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is actually super good.
I've seen the first 3 or 4 seasons of My Hero Academia. Loved that, but just fell off because, again, I'm not a big television watcher. If I have free time, I'm usually playing video games. And Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer's been great. I've watched about as much as I've read. which isn't a lot, but I do want to finish it. It's beautiful, one of the most
I've watched
beautiful.
season 1 and 2, so like the entertainment district arc. I've seen that, but I haven't watched all of it.
I haven't watched any of
I'm gonna
that.
bring that back up after we're done here, V.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to watch Mugen Train with you. Anyway, we digress.
Fine, whatever.
You know, we all have various backgrounds. I wouldn't say that any of us are defined by it in any way, but we're definitely fans. Would you guys say that that's fair? And we look forward to building that through this?
Yes, I would say that's fair. I have an
Yeah.
appreciation and a fascination for Japanese animation in general. And in the storytelling, I think the medium of manga and anime is so conducive to exploration in storytelling, and I'm very eager to see where One Piece takes us.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the things that keeps me coming back to One Piece is that exploration. I mean, the story is nothing if not one of exploration. The characters are amazing. Just some of the ideas get so out of this world, I guess, for lack of a better term, that you just can't help but wonder what's next, what's gonna happen with this. So
How are they going to top this?
yeah. And for better or for worse, you know, it is going strong today. We will get to that in time, and you guys will, you know, make your own judgments. Because we're not here just to, you know, suck off One Piece. We're not here to just infinitely praise it. We are encouraged, you guys are encouraged to critique it. I will critique it as I see fit. You know, we want to hear the things you like, but we want to know what could have been done better. How would you have seen that? And yeah, some other things we may get into as we move along. One thing that's popular with One Piece fandom is power scaling. We may do that.
Oh, God. We're about to get into the Dragon Ball Z style arguments. His power level's 9,000, so he shouldn't technically be able to beat Krillin.
Yeah, I think it'll be more fun than you're putting it out there to be. But you know, we'll do those every so often. We'll have special episodes where we go into, I don't know, maybe we'll do like the women of One Piece. We'll explore just that as a topic. We'll power scale. We'll do this, that, and the other. Our main goal is to read through volume to volume and give our thoughts. But as we evolve, as we, you know, grow on this, we're gonna try to put more and more into it. You know, just create really engaging listen here, and we hope that whoever's listening is encouraged to keep on and watch us grow. Maybe you grow with us. Who knows? So with that being said, I do want to get into like who we are as friends here, because this podcast is recorded remotely. I record out of southeastern North Carolina. Dylan is not too far up the road, actually, even though we're not together in one room. Dylan, why don't you tell them about where you are?
Coastal North Carolina.
Yeah, so we're both in North Carolina. But wait, it gets wilder. V, why don't you explain a little bit where you're from?
So I was born and raised in Quebec, Canada, and I currently reside in Ottawa, Canada, which is the capital of the country. And somehow I wound up here.
Right, it's an interesting story, or maybe it's not.
I like to think it's interesting.
So I will say I met Dylan through friends of friends.
Yeah.
While
Through my old college roommate.
Yeah, while playing D&D, also remote. I have had the wonderful distinction of being able to meet him in person. Just once, though, unfortunately. But yeah, got pulled into a D&D campaign. Suddenly we're as close without, you know, being geographically close. And my story for V is very similar. This guy hooked me into a D&D campaign that he was doing with V here. So
Yes.
there's a link of D&D that kind of connects us here.
Moral of the story: D&D brings people together.
And
absolutely
like, in
does.
case the listeners don't know or haven't figured this out yet, we are huge nerds. By
Yeah.
the way.
We're not just like anime nerds. We're not just D&D nerds. We're movie nerds. We love music.
Yeah.
I'd have to roll insight for that.
But yeah, am I missing anything as far as our friendship?
Not really. I mean, similarly to your experience, Michael, I got wrapped into this D&D campaign with a common friend of ours, Steven, and I knew him from one of my in real life friends that, they did a Nuzlocke tournament on Twitch. Anyway, it's
Do
complicated.
you want to talk about what Nuzlocke is, or you just want to move past
But
that?
we don't.
I think people should know what that is at this point.
It's just a Pokemon tournament that basically the players need to follow a certain set of rules that change from the usual Pokemon gameplay. And all that's to say that, Steven and my friend Ben met through that tournament, and then I met Steven through Ben, and then I met Dylan and Michael through Steven. So,
And Steven happens to be a high school buddy of mine.
and I have quickly become very, very close friends with these two boys. I think they're two of the people I talk to the most, probably, on a daily basis nowadays.
Yeah,
and
two of my closest
Aw.
friends. Yeah.
I honestly, without getting super mushy, cannot see my life without them now.
Oh, that's very mushy.
Aww.
But yeah,
Mashed potatoes over here.
yeah, right. With butter and cheese. But yeah, all that's to say that I guess it's true. D&D brings people together, and that's kind of how I wound up here. And we are going to have the privilege of meeting each other IRL in a few months' time, which is very, very exciting. But yeah, those are my buddies. They're my bros, and I love them.
We love you too,
It's
V.
the gang. Aw.
All right. So that's more or less the introductions. I did have one last question I wanted to bring up just because I think it's fun here. So One Piece is a story about pirates, oftentimes sailing on the high seas, but a lot of their time is spent on solid land. But that's neither here nor there. So my question,
They sound like a bunch of landlubbers.
exactly, my question is, where do you guys see yourselves on a pirate ship? If you were on a pirate ship, where could you see your role being? I'll start just so you kind of get an idea of how it goes. So I particularly associate with One Piece character, but I think the comparison here doesn't do any good. People are going to think, oh, it's because of X, but I definitely would see myself as something of a navigator. I've always had a thing for geography. One of the questions I used to ask my buddy who got me into One Piece all the time is, what's the world like? Is there a map? And he was like, yeah, kind of, but don't read too much into it, blah, blah, blah. But that is something I'm a nerd for, is geography, maps and stuff. Being in the crow's nest with is it a telescope? Dylan, help me out here. Eyeglass?
Spyglass, yeah.
Spyglass, looking on the horizon, seeing what's there, being able to deliver the news to the rest of the crew, just being in that kind of position just excites me, I guess. Yeah, I started with Dylan last time. V, why don't you answer the question?
That's a really good question. Not to play into the feminine stereotype of it all, but I'm very much a
The Hua. Just kidding.
no. I mean, yes, but shush. No, but I'm very much a carer. I'm very much I wouldn't say a ship maker. Not a homemaker,
Doctor?
a ship maker.
No?
No, I would be like
A cook?
the cook. The person that if someone's seasick, I would go and lay them down on one of the bunks. I like to and that kind of speaks to my career, but I like to run the human aspect of an operation, because in my career I work in human resources, so I I recognize that everyone is human and everyone has their needs and their abilities and their weaknesses, and I like to manage that. And so I think I could be a pretty good like background showrunner without being the captain. I would be able to be a good background showrunner and a cook because I truly love to cook. Cooking is honestly one of my love languages. Like, I love to cook a meal for someone that I love, and I love for them to love it. Like, I get a lot
That's
of
beautiful.
enjoyment out of feeding people and them enjoying it. It brings me a whole lot of satisfaction. So that my
Well,
role would be kind of too like I would be the mom of the ship if we're being honest. That's what it boils down to. And I think
I can see you as the ship's physician.
and that too. And anyone that knows me even a little bit is not surprised by that.
you kind of straddle the line. There's a lot of parallels with multiple different characters. However, one sticks out. Well, if I remember, we'll come back to that. In fact, let me take that down. Anything else you want to add to that?
That's it.
All right, and Dylan, why don't you go ahead and wrap the conversation up?
I mean, as no surprise to either of y'all, I would definitely consider myself the shantyman
Musician? Would you say
of the
musician?
of the crew.
Yeah.
Not musician because shanties are
They're not
technically
music.
just yeah, they're a cappella. It's a
That's
cadence,
music.
and so I guess a better actual role would be like the foreman. He keeps the task on time. But I love fucking sea shanties. I listened to a couple, went nuts, know a bunch of them, love singing them. Like the work where I work at, when I close, I sit there mopping the floor singing sea shanties.
I see it.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, there's a little parallel there as well, and I can't wait to get to it. But that's a ways away. Yeah, this project is really it's my baby, but it's the intention is for it to be y'all's baby too, and I can't wait to share this with you. That's really all I got here. Do y'all have any more anything else to add?
Not really, other than I'm very eager. I'm eager to get into it. I'm eager to get into the meat of it, cuz at this point we've read the first volume, but we've not recorded this episode yet, and I've had a taste and I'm very excited for more. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Dylan?
yeah, I'd say the same thing because manga in and of itself is extremely easy to consume, so you can get through it very fast. I've reread the first volume like 2-3 times, and each time I've read through it, I've kind of gleaned something new from it, like something that's just going on in the background. When at first I was just reading it, not really paying too much attention to the foreground and background of the art, and then going back and reading it again, I'm like, oh shit, okay. So that's interesting, and I'm looking forward to like everybody else. I'm looking forward to just getting into it and getting to see some of the really cool shit that it has to offer.
Right on, right on. All right, well, with that, I do believe we are almost done here. I do want to thank anyone here who's still listening. Thank you so much for listening. We would love to get to know, who's listening here. So please feel free to reach out to us via email at podpodfruit@gmail.com. Podpodfruit@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and bon voyage.
Bon
Yeah.
voyage.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
Uh,
I'm just kidding, sorry.